G-Roll Electronic Productions, baby.
Biden economic advisor Brian Deese said that the only viable path to energy independence is to reduce fossil fuels use to zero, which is absolutely impossible, economically dangerous. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Well, before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out. Also hit that like button. I said that, sorry. Hit that alarm bell so you know when I go live and stuff like this, because you never know. I stay so busy. I am a real therapist, so I see people throughout the day. I just kind of read news and put information out there whenever I can. So hit that alarm bell so you know when I do that. Also, check out the link in the description, my link tree. That'll link to my Patreon where I talk about things I can't talk about here, and also my merch store. The merch link is in there. Also, where I have Let's Go Brandon t-shirts, I Will Not Comply t-shirts. Unfortunately, I don't have any on today to show you guys, but we have all types of t-shirts, and it's all made here in-house. And every purchase that you make, it goes to support what we're doing here. All right, let's talk about what's going on with this news. This is crazy. I'm gonna play the video and comment on the video also. But let's talk about this first. Joe Biden's National Economic Council Director Brian Deese on Tuesday said the only way through this oil crisis created by Biden is to reduce our fossil fuel use to zero, which is impossible. First of all, we don't have the technology to have no fossil fuels whatsoever. So this is he's just blowing smoke. I don't know what to say about this. Let me just go on with the article. I really, it makes no sense to me. I don't know what to say about it. But Joe Biden on Tuesday announced the U.S. will ban Russian oil imports, which I totally agree with that. We shouldn't have to depend on another country for anything anyway. But Biden blamed Vladimir Putin for soaring gas prices and used this crisis as an opportunity to sell his Marxist green agenda. Well, the gas price was rising before Putin decided to go into Ukraine. So that makes, that's not even an argument there. But Russia's war on Ukraine, quote, should motivate us to accelerate a transition to clean energy, said Biden. It's all hands on deck now to turn the U.S. into a third world hellhole, all while blaming Vladimir Putin. And I've been saying that's their plan from the very beginning. They want to turn the U.S. into a third world country. Instead of lifting up other countries and helping other countries out when we can, they want to bring down our country to the levels of these third world countries. Quote, the only viable path to energy independence for the American economy is to reduce the energy intensity of our economy overall and ultimately to reduce it to zero and get us in a position to where we no longer reliant on fossil fuels, DC said. So let's check out this crazy interview here. Fair use, YouTube. This is fair use. All right.
Viewed in the context of a deliberate, coordinated effort to try to increase the economic costs and the economic consequences on Russia for Putin's actions, which I think you're seeing play out in the market for sure.
What about the economic consequences on consumers here in the United States? I know that we hear from Jen Psaki, of course, the press secretary, saying some oil CEOs are indicating they plan to raise their output, but do you need more of that to be able to offset some of the...
Well, if Biden never canceled the Keystone Pipeline and the crazy energy policies that he put out there to destroy American oil, where to try to get rid of the fracking and stuff, where we're producing record numbers of oil, Biden get in and put a halt to all of that. And I said he was going to do that, and this was going to happen. Gas prices was going to skyrocket, and that's exactly what's happening. There are consequences to elections, and we are bearing fruit to that consequence right now?
The price pressures.
Well, I'd separate two things. The first is the impact here in the United States, and as the president was very clear and has been from the get-go, Putin's war of aggression will have costs, and those costs will be in the United States as well. We've seen the price of gas at the pump go up about 75 cents since Putin began amassing troops at the Ukraine border.
Again, the gas was going up before Putin even touched that darn border.
And that's a real issue. We're working to mitigate that. At the same time, if you look at production in the United States, it's at near record highs for natural gas, and increasing significantly. There's no barrier in the short term to increase production. And as you say, you've seen.
Right now, we're not talking about natural gas. We're talking about gas that we put in the gas tanks. So you could be pumping out record number natural gas, but that's not going to help. That's not going to help your gas tank. So what are you talking about right now? And we've been producing it. We were producing it under Trump, and pretending that they're not cutting back. That's a lie. They are cutting back. They were cutting back, I should say, on oil production. They're starting to ramp up again now because of what's going on.
Oil companies indicating that they're increasing production at a rapid clip, and so certainly we expect that to continue. But I think this is also a very stark reminder, if you step back historically, that the only viable path to energy independence for the American economy is to reduce the energy intensity of our economy.
We were already energy independent under Donald Trump. But because he put out mean tweets, yeah, because he put out mean tweets and offended people, you know, I don't care about none of that stuff. I care about policy. What policies are you putting in place that can help me and my family? That's what I care about. I don't care about your tweet. I don't care about people getting offended. I don't care about any of that stuff. I care about what are your policies doing to me and my family. And Biden policies are hurting families around the country.
Overall. And ultimately to reduce it to zero and get ourselves to a position where we're no longer
not going to
relying
happen
on fossil fuels. That's a long-term.
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And I'm glad he admitted that's a long-term thing, a long-term goal. But that's not going to help us right now with gas approach is going to be coming up on $5-6 in some places. That's not going to help us right now. So what are you going to do to help us in a short term, in our immediate future right now? What are you doing to help us? Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Project, but what we're seeing today and the geopolitics and the economic pain should only reinforce our efforts to try to move there more quickly.
Do you plan to have a meeting, a summit with some of these U.S. oil producers? A lot of the heads of those companies have maybe said that they're surprised that you're asking OPEC Plus to increase output, but no one has contacted them directly.
Well, we're in contact with members of with companies and.
Look! He see how he's stuttering. He's stuttering. OPEC even said no one has contacted us directly, which goes to show they're not really serious about energy production. That should have been the first thing you done is contact United States oil companies and contact OPEC to try to ramp up this stuff and get us going. And he flipped. Well, he's lying. They didn't contact anybody because they really want this country to turn into a third world country. So. That's why wouldn't you think the first thing you would do is to contact OPEC? That would be one of the first things you do. And he didn't do it.
CEOs and interacting with them on a very regular basis, that will continue. And look, the American system operates based on supply and demand in the market. And we certainly expect CEOs to respond, and we're seeing that in the market, that production increases.
See? He said, we're expecting them to go ahead and do it anyway, you know. Biden's not going to meet with them. He's not going to sit down and talk to them. Won't care about, we're not meeting with OPEC. We see them, you know, we pass them in the hallways and stuff like that. But we expect them to do we're going to expect them to do the right thing here. We're not going to worry about sitting down and talking to them and directing them to do these things. That's basically what he's saying.
That's how the American system works. In petrostates, where oil production is controlled by the state, then they operate differently. That's not how the American economy operates.
Was there a discussion here about where you think oil prices could end up as a result of the sanctions and the other
I'm sure they had
actions taken by the U.S. as well?
I'm sure they have. They know how bad it's going to get, but I'm sure he's not going to admit it. I'm watching this for the first time like you guys, so let's see what he say. I'm sure he's not going to admit that if there is a world war, gas is going to go up. It's going to be crazy. We're going to be struggling here for a while. They're not going to tell the American people the truth. Let's see what he says.
As other governments.
Look, we have looked in every case when we've looked at economic sanctions at two things. One, how can we partner closely with our allies to make sure that we are operating in a coordinated way? Even when individual countries like the United States takes a somewhat different approach because of where we're positioned, we're moving out, and the president has prioritized moving in concert with our allies.
Right.
And the second is to closely analyze the potential impacts and the potential risks. That's something that we do for all of our actions. And none of these are without some risk and some consequence,
right.
But I think if you look at the overall impact, the Russian economy is reeling as a result of these steps, and that's the intended goal.
Absolutely, and let me just rephrase it a little bit. I think we know the impact is there. We have all seen where gasoline prices are at the pump. On average, we're at $4, and in certain parts of this country, you're paying upwards of $6 to $7. The question here is, what's the contingency plan right now within the White House, economically speaking, to
I'm sure there is no contingency plan. They want us to fail. But let's see what he says.
blunt the impact of this increase in commodity prices?
Well, we're going to do everything we can to mitigate. There's a couple things we can do right now. The first is continue to work with our allies and partners to use the reserves that we have in a coordinated way. You saw the president bring the IEA together last week to announce a 60 million barrel coordinated.
That amounts to nothing. That 60 billion barrels amounts, I think they said, to like 2 or 3 days, maybe. I think I read somewhere. So it amounts to nothing. That's not going to affect the price of gas whatsoever.
Release, the U.S. will do 30 million of that. We're actively consulting with our allies and in the IEA context about whether it's appropriate to act and do more with those releases. The second is we got to pay close attention to this market and make sure that even as we see this upward price pressure, we're not seeing anybody taking advantage of consumers. And so that's the second thing the Federal Trade Commission, the CFTC, will be keeping a close eye on. And to the point you raised earlier, working internationally and diplomatically to make sure that there is an adequate global supply on the market, including from those suppliers who don't have market-based economies.
Okay, I don't feel confident at all that our government is doing anything to mitigate this. Absolutely nothing. I have no faith in this administration whatsoever. I think it's going to get a lot worse. So start tightening your belt, folks. But let me know what you think about all this. Do you think the price of gas and commodities, we were already going through inflation and all that before this stuff happened. So I'm interested to see what you guys think about all this. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out democrepublics.com. Oh, yeah, also I put up 2 new articles on democrepublics.com. I'm going to be doing a lot more writing over there, so check out that stuff there. Before I go, Copper Skies commented, said, this guy dresses respectably, but the administration is full of ideologues who like the idea of high fuel prices. I agree, Copper Skies. Thank you for that. I definitely agree. It's all about turning the United States into a third world country. They want to see the demise, the fall of this country. So, and the policies, all you have to do is look at the policies. The policies are reflecting that. Just look at what the policy do. It's not doing anything. His policies aren't doing anything to help anyone in this country. But I appreciate you. Appreciate your support, Copper Skies. Check out democrepublics.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.